The coffee had gone cold in Dr. Jessica Cooper's titanium mug, its surface still as glass in the lunar gravity. She hadn't touched it in hours, her attention fixed on the main control panel of Armstrong Lunar Base's communications hub. Earth hung in the viewport behind her, a brilliant blue marble wrapped in a web of artificial light and electromagnetic chatter that had defined humanity for over a century. "Final checkpoint complete," announced Major Tom Chen through her earpiece. "All continental defense grids are ready for shutdown. Waiting for your signal, Dr. Cooper." Jessica's fingers hovered over the quantum-encrypted keyboard. 20 years of research, 3 near-death experiences in deep space, and countless sleepless nights had led to this moment. She'd been the first to detect them, the things that moved between stars, drawn to the electromagnetic songs of technological civilizations, like moths to flame, or perhaps, more accurately, like sharks to blood and water. "Confirmed shutdown procedures for North America," her display chirped. The continent's familiar glow began to dim on the planet below. "Europe standing by. Asia standing by. All automated systems ready for cessation." The plan had seemed impossible when she'd first proposed it to the World Security Council. Convince 8 billion people to power down their devices, to abandon their homes, to vanish into underground sanctuaries built in absolute secrecy. Yet here they were, about to complete humanity's greatest disappearing act. "Dr. Cooper," General Miranda Hayes' voice crackled through the command channel. "The hegemony's long-range sensors are detecting our power fluctuations. We're getting requests for explanation." Jessica smiled grimly. "Let them wonder, General. That's the point." She initiated the final sequence, watching as city lights began winking out across the globe. The electromagnetic spectrum displays showed massive drops in every frequency range. Television, radio, quantum entanglement communications, all falling silent in a carefully orchestrated symphony of darkness. "South America dark," reported the system. "Africa dark. Australia dark." Screens around her showed the massive underground shelters sealing themselves, their entropy masking systems engaging to hide even their thermal signatures. Humanity had learned to build in absolute silence, developing technology that left no trace in any detectable spectrum. They'd had no choice, not after what Jessica had seen in the Kuiper Belt. The memory still haunted her, that massive shape passing through the outer solar system, drawn by humanity's electronic cacophony. She'd barely gotten her research vessel's systems powered down in time. For 3 terrifying days, they'd drifted in silence, watching as something older than stars tested the space around them, hunting for the civilization it had detected. "Final systems preparing for shutdown," announced the base A. "Lunar infrastructure entering dormant mode. Would you like to record a final transmission, Dr. Cooper?" Jessica took a deep breath, thinking of the alien civilizations that would surely come to investigate. Some would be curious, others hostile. All of them would be necessary for the next phase of the plan. She keyed the broadcast system one last time. "This is Dr. Jessica Cooper of the Armstrong Lunar Base. To anyone receiving this message, good night and good luck." With trembling fingers, she executed the final command. Around her, the base's systems began powering down, leaving only the essential life support running on their newly developed dark energy cells. Through the viewport, she watched Earth's last lights fade, until the planet was nothing but a natural satellite, showing no signs of the civilization that had marked it for so long. "It's done," she whispered to the darkness. "Now we hunt the hunters." In the silence that followed, Jessica finally reached for her cold coffee. Somewhere out there, ancient horrors were already changing course, drawn by humanity's apparent extinction. They would come to feed on the remnants, as they had done countless times before. But this time, humanity would be waiting in the dark, and they had learned to be very, very quiet. Admiral Marcus Thompson had never seen the Arvaxian Grand Council chamber so chaotic. The massive crystalline dome, usually a model of geometric precision and order, now buzzed with the agitated clicks and whistles of panicked counselors. Their bioluminescent patterns flashed in irregular bursts, reflecting off the curved walls in a dizzying display of anxiety. Impossible. Elder Vextree's translucent appendages rippled with indignation. A Type 2 civilization doesn't simply disappear. Not without leaving traces of conflict or catastrophic failure. Marcus adjusted his environmental suit's stance stabilizers, the only human in a room full of beings who looked like a cross between jellyfish and living crystal. After 15 years as humanity's liaison to the Arvaxian Peace Fleet, he'd learned to read their subtle expressions. Right now, they were terrified. The data is conclusive, he projected through his suit's sinolinguistic translator. In the span of 6 Earth hours, human electromagnetic emissions dropped by 99.99%. The remaining output matches natural planetary background radiation. He uploaded the sensor logs to the chamber's holographic display. Earth appeared as it had looked for billions of years before humanity's rise, a quiet blue marble spinning in the void. No radio waves, no television broadcasts, no quantum communication bursts. Nothing. And what of the salvage fleet departing from the Centaurian Alliance? Elder Vextree's colors darkened to deep purple, or the Rigelian mining vessels already en route to the Sol system. Before Marcus could respond, his comlink chimed. Dr. Amanda Reeves' face appeared in his helmet display, her expression grim. "Admiral, you need to see this. Now." He excused himself from the council chamber, moving to a private alcove. "What is it?" "Amanda, I've been analyzing humanity's final transmissions," she said, her fingers dancing across screens in her makeshift lab on Europa. "There's a pattern. Look at this frequency analysis." The data scrolled across his vision. At first glance, the last hours of Earth's broadcasts seemed random: news reports, entertainment streams, personal communications. But when layered together, "My God," he whispered, "their coordinates, hundreds of them, hidden in the signal noise." Amanda nodded. "Coordinates that form a map of something moving through the galaxy, something big. And Marcus, whatever it is, it's been following the paths of dead civilizations. We found similar patterns in the final transmissions of at least 3 extinct species." A chill ran down his spine. Humanity hadn't self-destructed. They hadn't been attacked. They'd found something that had made them choose to vanish completely. His suit's sensors picked up approaching Arvaxian signatures. "Send everything to my secure cache. And Amanda, be careful out there. If anyone asks, I'm just a xenorchaeologist cataloging humanity's cultural artifacts," she finished. "But Marcus, the salvage fleets, if they power up their heavy equipment in Earth orbit, they might attract whatever humanity was hiding from," he concluded. "I know." The connection closed just as 3 Arvaxian elders entered the alcove, their patterns showing formal inquiry modes. "Admiral Thompson." Elder Vextree pulsed. "The Council has reached a decision. We are dispatching scout ships to Earth. As our human liaison, you will accompany the expedition." Marcus bowed, his mind racing. The scout ships would be perfect trackers, following the hidden coordinates in Earth's final message. But they'd also be leading whatever hunted technological civilizations straight back to Arvaxian space. "I would be honored," he said carefully. "When do we depart?" "Immediately." Elder Vextree's colors shifted to commanding gold. "The Centaurians must not be allowed to plunder humanity's remains. We are a peacekeeping force, after all." As Marcus followed them to the launch bays, he couldn't help but smile behind his helmet. The Arvaxians, like everyone else, assumed humanity had fallen. They didn't understand that his species had mastered silence long ago, in prehistoric times when humans were prey instead of predators. Sometimes, the best hunters were the ones no one saw coming. Lieutenant Jack Reynolds watched his breath fog in the morning air as he stepped out of the Arvaxian shuttle onto New York's Fifth Avenue. The city stretched around him, a steel and glass canyon preserved in perfect stillness, like a photograph frozen in time. No graffiti, no signs of panic, no bodies, just emptiness. "Thermal scans negative," reported Kixva, his crystalline partner, tendrils of light pulsing through their transparent form. Radiation levels consistent with normal background. No signs of weapon discharge or mass evacuation. Jack checked his dark matter detector, a precaution he'd insisted on despite the Arvactians' skepticism. Nothing. Whatever humanity had seen coming, it hadn't left any exotic traces. Ground team to command. He keyed his comm. Beginning sweep of Sector 7, Manhattan grid. They moved past abandoned vehicles, all parked with military precision along the curves. No crashed cars, no signs of panic. Every vehicle had been carefully positioned, like props on a stage. Jack paused at a sleek Tesla, its doors unlocked, keys in the ignition. "Lieutenant," HFY called from a nearby Starbucks entrance. "You should see this." Inside, fresh coffee sat in still warm cups on the tables. Pastries remained in their display cases, preserved by automated environmental systems that somehow still functioned despite the global shutdown. A laptop sat open on one table, its screen dark, but its surface still warm. Jack ran his fingers across the keyboard. The drive had been wiped clean. Not just deleted, but overwritten with random data thousands of times. Professional. Thorough. Deliberate. "Command, are you seeing this?" He transmitted, activating his helmet camera. They didn't just leave. They erased themselves. His team spread through the city, finding similar scenes everywhere. A children's playground in Central Park, swings moving gently in the breeze. The New York Stock Exchange. Terminals dark but chairs still pushed back, as if their occupants had just stepped away. The United Nations, its assembly hall set up for a meeting that would never happen. "Jack." Amanda Reeves' voice crackled in his ear. "Check the Houston feed. Now." He pulled up the video stream from the team exploring Johnson Space Center. At first, nothing seemed unusual. More empty offices, more carefully arranged scenes. Then the camera focused on a single post-it note stuck to a monitor in mission control. "Watch the shadows between stars." "That's not all," Amanda continued. "We're finding similar messages hidden everywhere. Chicago has listened to the silence carved microscopically into the bean. In London, someone left. They hunt by sound encoded in the Thames Barrier's maintenance logs." Jack felt a chill that had nothing to do with the morning air. "They're breadcrumbs," he realized. Humanity didn't just disappear. They're leading us somewhere. A sound echoed through the empty streets, a door creaking in the wind. Jack spun, weapon raised, but saw only shadows. For a moment, he could have sworn one of them moved wrong, bending in a way shadows shouldn't. "Command, requesting permission to access the subway systems." He transmitted. If they left more messages, the underground would be. "Negative." Admiral Thompson's voice cut in sharply. "All teams, maintain surface-level operations only. Do not enter any subterranean structures. Repeat, stay above ground." Jack frowned. That was odd. The Admiral had always encouraged thorough exploration before. Unless. He looked up at the sky, at the spaces between the stars that seemed somehow darker than they should be. The whole city felt like a stage now, and his team were actors in a play they didn't understand. Every empty street, every carefully arranged scene, every hidden message. It was all too perfect. "HFY," he called to his partner. "Run a broad-spectrum analysis of local electromagnetic fields. Include frequencies we normally ignore as background noise." The Arvactian's crystalline form pulsed with acknowledgement. As the scan began, Jack could have sworn he heard something, not with his ears, but with some deeper, more primitive part of his brain. A sound like silence itself having weight. Humanity hadn't fled from something coming to Earth, he realized. They'd laid a trap, and his team had just walked right into it. Colonel Emily Winters had seen her share of classified facilities during her 20 years in special operations, but nothing like this. The Mohev facility stretched for miles underground, its corridors carved into the bedrock with technology that left no heat signature, no electromagnetic trace, not even the usual quantum distortions from power generation. Impossible, muttered Dr. Corell, the Rigelian archaeologist beside her. His crystalline exoskeleton clicked nervously as they descended deeper. This facility predates humanity's shutdown by at least 5 years. The energy requirements alone would have been detected, Emily finished, running her hand along the perfectly smooth wall, unless they figured out how to hide them. Their survey team had found the entrance by accident, or so it seemed at first. Now, Emily suspected the cave-in that revealed the blast doors had been precisely calculated. Like everything else they'd discovered, this was part of humanity's plan. Colonel. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice echoed from a chamber ahead. We found something. The room they entered looked like a cross between a scientific lab and a military command center. Holographic displays lined the walls, all powered down but intact. In the center stood a massive device Emily had never seen before. A sphere of interlocking rings surrounding a dark core. It's a quantum observatory, Corell breathed, his exoskeleton shifting to an excited purple hue. But the resolution, this could detect space-time distortions across entire galaxies. Emily approached a desk where a single tablet remained, its screen protected by military-grade encryption. She plugged in her command override, expecting failure. To her surprise, the screen lit up immediately. Project Centennial. HFY Sci-Fi. Lead researcher, Dr. Jessica Cooper. Defense coordinator, General Miranda Hayes. Playing final log entry, the tablet announced. Dr. Cooper's tired face appeared on screen. If you're watching this, you've found one of our monitoring stations. The device behind you is more than a quantum observatory. It's an early warning system. We built these facilities to track them, the things that hunt between stars. They're drawn to technological signatures like predators to prey, and humanity's electromagnetic noise was like a dinner bell ringing across the galaxy. The screen shifted to show grainy footage from a deep space probe. Something massive moved through the void, its shape somehow wrong, as if it existed in more dimensions than human eyes could process. We found the remains of their victims, Cooper continued. Dead worlds stripped of all technology, their civilizations vanished without a trace. The hunters' feeding pattern was clear. They follow electromagnetic signatures back to their source, consuming everything they find. Then they wait, dormant, until the next civilization grows noisy enough to attract them. Emily felt her throat tighten as coordinates began scrolling across the screen. The locations of dead worlds, each matching known archaeological sites of extinct alien species. But humanity evolved from prey animals. Cooper's voice hardened. We remember what it means to hide, to go silent when predators are near. We built these facilities not just to monitor the hunters, but to learn their weaknesses, and we found them. The screen displayed schematics for weapons Emily had never seen before, technology that operated on principles that seemed to defy physics itself. We didn't abandon Earth, Cooper concluded. We're hunting the hunters. Every empty city is a lure, every abandoned facility a trap. If you're part of the salvage teams, leave. Now, if you're from a civilization we've judged trustworthy, she smiled grimly. Check the coordinates in Denver. Humanity remembers its friends. The tablet went dark. In the silence that followed, Emily's comm unit crackled with an urgent message from Admiral Thompson. All teams, withdraw immediately. We're detecting massive gravitational anomalies approaching the solar system. Something's coming. Emily looked at Corell, whose exoskeleton had shifted to the pale white of fear. They both knew humanity hadn't just been preparing for survival. They'd been preparing for war, and they turned their own disappearance into the perfect trap. Send word to your people, she told Corell as they hurried toward the exit. Tell them to go dark. The real hunt is about to begin. Commander David Mason watched the stars disappear one by one through Proxima Station's main viewport. Not blink out, disappear, as if something vast was passing between the mining outpost and the rest of the universe. His dark matter sensors, secretly installed months ago, screamed silent warnings across his neural link. Status report. He subvocalized, his augmented vocal cords producing no actual sound. Evacuation 82% complete, responded the station's AI through his bone conduction implant. Remaining personnel are proceeding to silent running vessels as per Protocol Omega. Estimated time to completion: 7 minutes. He'd been expecting this since the alien survey teams had left Earth, their ships unknowingly leaving a trail of quantum disturbances like breadcrumbs through space. The hunters had followed that trail, just as humanity had planned, just as David had trained for. "Sir," Lieutenant Sarah Williams appeared at his side, her movements deliberate and silent in the low gravity. The Rigelian mining crew is refusing to board the evacuation vessels. They're demanding explanations. David's augmented vision highlighted the group of crystalline beings clustering around their mining equipment, their forms flickering with angry colors. They didn't understand, couldn't understand that their precious machines were about to become a beacon for something ancient and hungry. "Show them," he ordered. Sarah nodded, activating the station's external cameras. The feed appeared on nearby screens, showing the thing that was blocking the stars. Most of it existed in dimensions human eyes couldn't process, but what was visible looked like a web of living darkness spreading across space itself. The Rigelian's colors shifted to pale terror. "Lieutenant," David's neural link pulsed with new data. "Silent ship Alpha reports ready for quantum insertion. Begin final evacuation sequence." The station's lights dimmed further as emergency power rerouted to the evacuation vessel's dark energy drives. They'd have one chance at this, to slip away in the artificial night they created, using technology that left no trace in normal space. "Commander," the AI warned, "unknown entity is extending pseudopods of dark matter toward the station. Structural integrity will be compromised in 3 minutes." David walked to the nearest computer terminal, his fingers flying across the keyboard as he encoded his final message. "If you're watching this, they followed you here. Run." The Rigelians had finally abandoned their equipment, their crystalline forms trembling as human crews guided them to the waiting ships. Years of preparation had led to this moment, humanity's first rescue operation against the cosmic horrors they'd discovered. "All personnel aboard silent ships," Sarah reported, "initiating quantum drives." David felt it then, a pressure in his mind, like something vast and ancient trying to comprehend the tiny beings escaping its grasp. The hunters weren't just predators, they were intelligent, curious in their own alien way. And they'd just discovered that their prey could fight back. "Execute Protocol Omega," he commanded. Throughout the station, specially designed devices activated, pumping out electromagnetic noise on all frequencies, a feast of signals to draw the hunters' attention while the evacuation ships slipped away through artificial quantum tunnels, their dark energy drives leaving no trace in normal space. Through the viewport, David watched the web of living darkness descend on the station, drawn by the sudden burst of energy. They wouldn't find any trace of the beings who had worked here, no bodies to consume, no technology to absorb, no consciousness to examine. Just another empty husk, like the cities on Earth. "All ships away," Sarah confirmed as they boarded the last vessel, ready for quantum insertion. David took a final look at the station as their ship's drive spun up. The hunter was already engulfing it, its multidimensional form twisting space itself as it searched for its prey. But it wouldn't find what it was looking for. Humanity had learned to move through darkness, to operate in silence. They were no longer prey. "Send word to command," he ordered as their ship slipped into quantum space. "The first phase is complete." The hunters took the bait. The real war was about to begin. Dr. Robert Hayes, Earth's last defense secretary, stood in the heart of the Cheyenne Mountain bunker, surrounded by holographic displays, showing humanity's greatest gambit unfolding across the stars. Each screen tracked a different hunter, their multidimensional signatures leaving trails of darkness through the galaxy. Confirmation from Commander Mason, his AI assistant, reported through his neural implant. "Proxima Station evacuation successful. Hunter 7 has taken the bait. Robert allowed himself a grim smile. 5 years of planning, of learning to hide in plain sight, were finally bearing fruit. The hunters hadn't expected their prey to understand their nature, let alone prepare countermeasures. "Status of Operation ShadowNet?" he asked, his augmented vocal cords barely vibrating above a whisper. Even here, kilometers underground, they maintained communication discipline. The main display shifted, showing a web of quantum-entangled sensors spreading out from Earth. Hundreds of automated stations, hidden in the void between stars, tracking the hunters' movements. Each one used technology that left no trace in normal space, humanity's greatest achievement and best-kept secret. "Sir," Colonel Andrea Martinez appeared at his side, her dark ops uniform absorbing what little light reached it. "We've decoded more of their communication patterns. They're confused. The hunters have never encountered prey that could evade them like this. The hunters' language, if you could call it that, existed in gravitational waves and quantum fluctuations. It had taken years to understand even its basic patterns, but what they'd learned had changed everything." "Show me the Regellian evacuation footage," Robert commanded. The display shifted to show Commander Mason's rescue operation. The hunters had followed the alien survey teams exactly as predicted, treating them like guides to new feeding grounds. Instead, they'd led the ancient predators into humanity's carefully laid trap. "Remarkable," a new voice said from the shadows. Admiral Thompson materialized from a corner, his stealth suit powering down. "You knew they'd follow us back to our worlds. The entire evacuation of Earth was just the first step of your counterattack." Robert nodded. The Arvaxian admiral had proven himself trustworthy, one of the few aliens who'd understood the true scope of humanity's plan. "We studied them for years," Robert explained, gesturing to the displays. "The hunters evolved to feed on technological civilizations, following their electromagnetic emissions like sharks following blood in water. But they made one crucial mistake." He waved his hand, and the holographs shifted to show ancient cave paintings, prehistoric hunting scenes from humanity's past. "They forgot that humans were prey once before," he continued. "We remember what it means to move in silence, to turn a predator's hunting patterns against it. Every abandoned city is a lure. Every evacuated station is a trap. We're not running from them." The displays showed more rescue operations launching across the galaxy. Human ships using their dark energy drives to evacuate alien colonies moments before the hunters arrived. Each evacuation left behind active technology as bait, drawing the ancient predators into positions of humanity's choosing. "My God," Thompson whispered, "you're hurting them." Robert's smile turned predatory. "Humanity's greatest weapon was never our technology. It was our ability to adapt, to understand our enemies, to turn their strengths into weaknesses. We didn't just go dark to hide. We went dark to hunt." Warning signals flashed across the displays. More hunters were emerging from deep space, drawn by the trails of electromagnetic breadcrumbs humanity had carefully laid out. "Signal the fleet," Robert ordered. "Begin Phase 2 of Operation ShadowNet. It's time to show these cosmic horrors why Earth's apex predators learn to walk in silence." As orders rippled out through quantum channels, Robert thought about the billions of humans waiting in underground cities and off-world bases, their technology masked, their movements silent. The hunters thought they'd found easy prey. Instead, they'd awakened something far more dangerous, a species that remembered its own evolutionary past and had learned its lessons well. The hunters were about to become the hunted. General Michelle Barnes stood on the bridge of the U.S. Nightshade, Earth's first true stealth carrier. Through the quantum-filtered viewport, she watched her fleet move into position. 300 ships running dark, their dark energy drives leaving no trace in normal space. Not even a gravitational shadow. "All battle groups report ready," Captain James Wright announced from his station. His fingers danced across holographic controls that emitted no light outside the ship's quantum bubble. "The Arvaxian and Regellian evacuation fleets are safely beyond the engagement zone." Michelle nodded, her neural implants feeding her real-time data from every ship in the fleet. The hunters had taken the bait, following the false trails left by evacuated colonies. Now 7 of the ancient horrors converged on their position, expecting to find another helpless civilization to devour. "Signal the task force," she subvocalized. "Operation Prometheus is go." Across the fleet, weapon systems powered up using technology that had taken humanity decades to perfect. Quantum torpedoes that could breach higher dimensions. Gravity lances that could tear holes in spacetime itself. Dark matter mines that could trap even beings that existed partly outside normal space. "Enemy contact in 5 minutes," Tactical reported. "They haven't detected us." Michelle allowed herself a small smile. The hunters had evolved to detect electromagnetic emissions, to track the energy signatures of developing civilizations. They had never encountered prey that could move in perfect silence, that could strike from the dark spaces they thought they owned. "Remember," she addressed her fleet through quantum channels, "these things have hunted technological civilizations for millions of years. They've never failed, never lost a prey species that reached our level of development. Until now." The first hunter appeared on their sensors, a massive web of dark energy and twisted spacetime. Beautiful in its alien horror, it moved with the confidence of an apex predator, unaware that it was swimming in waters where a new predator had evolved. "Multiple contacts," Tactical announced. "All 7 hunters are entering the kill zone." Michelle felt an ancient thrill run through her bones, the same feeling her ancestors must have felt when they learned to hunt creatures larger than themselves. Humanity had spent its entire history climbing the food chain. These cosmic horrors were just another step. "Launch quantum torpedoes," she ordered. "All ships, execute attack pattern Sierra." The Nightshade's weapons launched in perfect silence, invisible until the moment of impact. Across the fleet, hundreds of ships moved in coordinated patterns refined by years of simulation. The hunters, used to pursuing fleeing prey, found themselves surrounded by predators they couldn't detect. The first quantum torpedo struck home. A hunter's multidimensional form writhed as the weapon tore through its higher dimensional structure. Dark matter mines detonated, trapping portions of the ancient beings in normal space where they could be targeted. First hunter showing signs of critical damage, Tactical reported with barely contained excitement. "The others are attempting to retreat." "Not this time," Michelle growled. "Signal the second wave. Close the net." More ships appeared from quantum space. The reserve fleet, positioned to cut off the hunters' escape routes. Humanity had learned well from its own evolutionary history. The best hunters worked in packs, coordinating to trap prey larger than themselves. The space around them warped and twisted as the hunters tried desperately to escape, to flee into dimensions where ships couldn't follow. But humanity had planned for this too. Gravity lances fired, pinning the ancient horrors in normal space. "General," Captain Wright called out, "we're detecting communication between the hunters. It's different from anything we've recorded before." Michelle knew what it was. She'd heard similar sounds in historical recordings of ancient prey animals. "That's fear, Captain. They're experiencing fear for the first time in millions of years." Through her neural link, she felt the fleet move as one. Hundreds of ships coordinating their attack with precision, born from years of preparation. Humanity had turned its greatest weakness into its greatest strength. They had learned to hunt in silence, to strike from darkness. And the galaxy would never be the same. Captain Tyler Wright stood atop the restored Empire State Building, watching New York City flicker back to life. One by one, lights bloomed in the darkness, a constellation of human achievement rising from its artificial slumber. Above, the night sky seemed clearer, deeper somehow, now that they knew what lurked in the spaces between stars, and how to fight it. "Final hunter signatures have been eliminated from the Orion arm," reported his neural link. Operation Shadow Net reports mission success across all targeted sectors. In the streets below, people emerged from the underground shelters, their faces turned upward to see real sky for the first time in months. They moved differently now, with the quiet confidence of a species that had faced its predators and emerged victorious. Signal from the nightshade, his AI assistant whispered in his mind. General Barnes requests your presence at the victory ceremony. Tyler smiled, remembering the final battle. The hunters, ancient and terrible, had learned too late that they weren't the only predators in the galaxy. Humanity had transformed their greatest vulnerability, their noisy technology, into the perfect trap. The quantum transport materialized silently beside him, its dark energy signature invisible to all but the most advanced sensors. Inside, Admiral Thompson waited alongside representatives from 24 alien species. The saviors of the galaxy prefer rooftops. I see, Thompson's crystalline translator hummed with amusement. Though I suppose old habits die hard. We learn to appreciate high ground, Tyler replied, stepping into the transport. Gives you a better view of what's hunting you. The transport ascended through layers of atmosphere, each level now monitored by humanity's new defense network. No longer would Earth broadcast its presence to the cosmos. Instead, they would watch and wait and strike when necessary. The U.S. Nightshade hung in high orbit, its quantum black hull reflecting starlight in ways that seemed to bend reality. The ship had become a symbol of humanity's transformation from noisy prey to silent predator. General Barnes met them in the ceremonial chamber, where delegates from across the galaxy had gathered. The room hummed with dozens of translation fields as species that had once dismissed humanity as primitive now waited to hear their words. We gather here not to celebrate a victory, Barnes began, her voice carrying the weight of command, but to mark a transformation. Humanity didn't just survive the hunters. We evolved. We remembered what our ancestors knew, that true strength lies not in dominating the environment, but in adapting to it. Holographic displays showed the battles that had turned the tide. Human ships moving in perfect coordination, striking from shadows the hunters thought they owned. Each engagement had been a testament to humanity's new doctrine, technology tempered by ancient wisdom. The galaxy will never return to what it was, Barnes continued. The age of broadcasting our presence to the cosmos is over, but we offer something better. The knowledge to survive, to defend, to hunt those that would hunt us. Tyler watched as alien representatives approached one by one, receiving quantum cores containing humanity's dark tech designs. Not all would be trusted with the full capabilities that had been part of the agreement, but enough to defend themselves, to join the new coalition humanity would lead. Earth is awakening, his neural link reported. All major cities report successful power restoration under new emissions protocols. On the main display, Earth glowed with a different kind of light now. Controlled, purposeful, hidden from the deeper darkness between stars. Humanity had learned to speak in whispers, to move in shadows, to strike without sound. They called us noisy, Tyler mused, watching the celebrations below. Said we were too loud to survive in a dangerous cosmos. They never understood that noise was just our first language. Silence was always our mother tongue. As if in response, New York's lights dimmed slightly, adapting to new protocols that would keep Earth hidden from whatever else lurked in the galaxy. Humanity had remembered its roots as prey, had learned to combine that ancient wisdom with modern technology. They had gone quiet, and in that silence, they had become more powerful than any hunter could imagine.